Hey, hello vinyl community and music community, it's Matt, and I just wanted to jump in on a thread that's been going around, and I've watched a couple of the videos and I thought they were fabulous. I think Joe, me and Mr. Mayo started the thread. It's about being spoiled by the Beatles and how we've been spoiled by the Beatles. So I wanted to jump in just for a couple of minutes here and give my 2 cents. Yes, 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 you bet your sweet bippy I have been spoiled by the Beatles. It all started, and you can go back to my first video way back a year and a half ago. Please check it out. It's about 15 minutes long where I really pay homage to the Meet the Beatles album, and my parents bought it for me. But let me tell you the story really quick. They bought me the album in '64 when I was 3 years old. They used to put me on my toy spring horse, my little bouncy horse, and they put on Meet the Beatles, and I was off to the races. I loved it. I'd be jumping around, bopping to that album. I can't even tell you how often I did that, to the point that that music was so ingrained in my brain that I became a Beatles fan for life, forever. Love that album so much. And it went from there, folks. They bought me the Hard Day's Night album in '65. Not only did my parents take me to see Mary Poppins in the theater, or '64 or '65, but then I remember in '65 they took me to see Help. And I remember just those two movies being so vibrant, so colorful, being a little kid in the theater, seeing Mary Poppins, and then, like I say, a little later, seeing Help. And the color, the vividness, the action, the fun in those two films were ingrained in my brain for life. And I just, from that point on, I was a major, major Beatles fan, loved them. I just loved everything about their look, their personalities, their sound. Everything about the Beatles just became so important in my life. My older cousins were into them in the mid to late '60s, so they got me into some of the later albums as I got older, got to be 6, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old. They got me into Rubber Soul, into Sgt. Pepper, and I remember one of my cousins specifically playing Paul McCartney's first solo album, McCartney, for me in 1970, and the Let It Be album that same year, and I just fell in love with this band, and I've never looked back. And I can't express how important and how much they've meant to me throughout my entire life, how they've helped me through good times, and their music has helped me through bad times. And it's helped me meet friends and make friends for life, lifelong friends. The Beatles have helped me do that, and they've passed on my love, I should say I've passed on my love for them and their music to my children. And now even to my one lone grandson is becoming a Beatles fan due to my son, his dad, loving the Beatles. So it's just wonderful. It's wonderful to see generation after generation cherish this band, fall in love with them, fall in love with the music. And the music just means so much. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, the music with the Beatles. They're just unbelievable. So I am spoiled by them. My first album I ever bought on my own was the Hey Jude album in 1970. I think my mother took me to the store when it came out, and I bought the Hey Jude album, which was called The Beatles Again, briefly. I think I've had a video up about that, telling that story too, about her taking me to the store. You can look back at that if you want. But anyway, that was the first one I bought, and I've been a lifelong fan, folks. They've spoiled me. But let me go on beyond just being spoiled, and I love them, and the significance they've had in my life. They've also helped me branch out in other ways. They were the foundation, they were the rock, they were the roots of the tree, so to speak, the Beatles were. But I talked about in one of my earlier videos, and some of you may not have even seen it, about a series of books called Play On, Power Pop Heroes. This is volume 1. There's going to be 5 volumes total, and there's only been 4 released so far. But I'm not here to plug these books, although they are fabulous books. What I'm here to say is, this book starts, volume 1, and if you look right here, right at the beginning, chapter 1, book 1, The Beatles, okay? What this is saying, this book, is that the beginning of power pop, the foundation, the roots of it, and how those branches spread out over the ensuing decades from the 60s into the 70s, into the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and today, it all starts with the Beatles. And I'm holding that up there a little while for you so you can see some of the other bands on there, because I don't want to sit here and go through each one with you. But they are the rock, folks. They are the foundation for the music I personally love. Now, I know many of you have maybe branched off to other types of music that you love beyond the Beatles. Maybe the Beatles helped you discover other types of music. But for me, the main foundation and branches they created for me, Matt, the music I love is the power pop genre. And the Beatles started it all. And it went on from volume 1 to volume 2 with, I'll show you these bands. And again, not going to read every one. Okay, you can freeze it or look at that, but after volume 1 you go into these bands. All bands I love. All thanks to the Beatles and the influence of the Beatles. And then volume 3, as the years go by and thanks to the influence of the Beatles, you have this grouping of bands that I love. Okay, and they're only up to volume 4. Volume 5 has not been released yet. I'm hoping it's soon. But in volume 4 you have these bands. All bands I love. Artists and bands I love. Okay. Volume 5 isn't out yet, but as I said, it's going to be out very soon. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, we talk about being spoiled by the Beatles. They are the beginning and the end for me. Remember that box set that came out illegally in the early 70s? They're the alpha omega for me. They're the beginning and they're the end. It's always the Beatles. The Beatles were always weaving somewhere through my life, having a positive influence on my life, and I truly appreciate them for being such a positive influence on me and my children and now my children's children. So thank you, Beatles. Thank you to all the fans out there who support and make me feel good about being a Beatle fan and being part of the community. I love it. And that's it for me. Yes, I've been spoiled by them, folks. Love them. Will love them till the day I die. The Beatles. It doesn't get any better than that and never will. All the best. God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.